we think is a community connector, and we would very much welcome you helping us, feeding into us, working with us, etc. We have just started recording the meeting for those people who aren't able to attend today. If anybody's got any issues with that, please let us know. Whatever, we will try our best to sort of, fit with that. So on the team, from the team today, I've got my colleague Simon and Adib. Adib is driving the presentation for us. Alicia is on the team, who's a national management trainee who we are supporting and giving lots of opportunities to engage with citizens and engage with people and just help us launch our new vision and approach for public participation, which you will hear more about as we go through. But do we want to push on, Adib? There's still people clocking in. That's great. So really, some of the ground rules really for today is just very much about is how we can work together, and if this is a forum that would work for you. I have done a number of engagement events. So as head of public participation, I've been out and about in Birmingham. Formally came into this role at the start of the year. It's been an interesting year and an interesting recent few months, as you can probably appreciate. But very much our team and the work of the team is very much about actually getting citizen insight and feeding that into service design, delivery into the council, which is one of the reasons why we've invited all you guys here, or you people here, because one of the things that we've learned during the course of the year, and one of the things that's become very apparent, is there does seem to be an assumption, if you like, made by Birmingham City Council that if we stick everything on a website, then people will automatically look at the website to get that information. But actually, since being out and about in various different forums, meetings, and listening to local people and walking the streets, I've walked the streets this year. One of the things that's very apparent to me is people aren't finding the information. So what we're really looking to do is come together with a group of like-minded people such as yourselves who have links into local people in Birmingham, local, local centres, local networks, local associations. We don't mind what, which is why our community connectors is quite a loose term, because we believe people have links into their local community just to help share information, but actually make it a two-way process. So today we've sort of come up with what we would like to cover, and we've included some information a little bit later in the agenda as to what I've been told that people are struggling with and can't find information on, just to help share that with you. But equally, if there's anything that you want to feed back to us, then please do so. And if you think there's a forum for this, if you think there's an opportunity for us to work together, we would love to have you and others on board. We very much are very keen about getting the messages out there. So the purpose of this group is, what we really, really want to do is engage with a variety of community leaders, yourselves. Let's put some regular engagement in with leaders of community organisations, associations, representatives, whoever who have regularly meet with or have contact with Birmingham citizens. That might be through a formal channel, that might be through a route, that might be through a conversation. We honestly, we don't mind. But actually, if it helps get some information and access to information out to more local people that we don't or we can't necessarily get to, then please, do let us know. We would love this to be in person. Council's financial position, which I'll talk about in a minute, isn't the best at the moment, to put it politely. So consequently, we are very much restricted on how we do that. But if anybody's got any suggestions or venues or anything like that we could use, and we wanted to make this in person, we would very much welcome that. We're happy to come out to you. Other reasons we thought this group would be useful, and please, you're more than welcome to add to this, change this, put comments, questions in the chat, put your hands up, whatever you want to do. One of the ways is very much to reach local people through local networks. Basically all of you are here because you work in the local area in Birmingham or in a local area in Birmingham, and you've got a trust and a relationship up with local people. We have that, but Birmingham's very big. So consequently, we can't guarantee we're getting messages out to everybody across the city that we would like to. And I just think, since being in post, there's quite a void in sharing that information, and citizens are telling us that as well directly. So, you know, this is what our attempt, and it might not be perfect and it might not be amazing, but it's very much our attempt at actually getting some information out to local people that can support them. We want this group to add value to you. We want it to add value to the council and to us, and we very much want it to be two-way. So as I said earlier, please do let's have any comments. We also think it's a real opportunity perhaps to learn from each other, sharing latest news, you know, for you to tell us what of his interest to others that you might be talking to. I've just got a slide with updates a bit later on, but you might turn around to me and say, June, our residents, our citizens, my local networks aren't telling me that. They're telling me they want information on X or Y or Z. And if that's the case, then tell us. And what we'll do is do our best to facilitate a conversation around that. So just move, here we go. So as a team, as I said, there's not a lot of us. We will always listen to you in an open and transparent way. We want to take on board your views. We want this to work for you as much as us. As I've said, time's precious for everybody and everybody's busy. Feed any comments made into the appropriate council service area, and feedback any responses to you directly. But you'll note there is a thing there. We cannot guarantee we'll have all the answers. However, what our commitment to you is that we will take it away and do something with that information and come back to you. And if that coming back to you says, I don't know the answer because of X, Y, and Z, we will do that. That is very much our commitment to you. So work with us and we'll do what we can. What we thought would be useful to kick off with is we've just launched a public participation vision and approach, hence the nice glossy in your face black red backgrounds. It's very much about putting people at the heart of everything we do as a council. Now it's probably more important to do that than ever. I can't lie. You know, we really want to make sure that the current council's financial position really focuses and supports people who are in receipt of core services, and actually is driven by citizens. We need to, you know, recover from this position in partnership with local people. So the purpose, if you like, of the vision and approach, and we can send you a copy of this, we can send you a link of this, you can have the presentation if you want to share this on, you can have copies of the slides, so don't worry about taking comment notes or anything, is to develop a strategically bold, coordinated, council-wide approach to working with the public, placing their voices at the heart of our decision making and partnering with the public to create a better Birmingham. Achieving our vision is only going to be possible if we work together. As a team, we've done a number of different pieces of work of engaging citizens in service design and delivery across the council. There are other pockets of really good practice in Birmingham City Council of where, you know, service design is focused around the individual. It's very much putting people first. Sadly, it's not consistent across the council, and now, as I said, we've launched this new approach. It's a corporate approach, so we're now in a position of actually sharing this and making it wider, and actually it gives us more of a mandate to commit the city council to empower public to shape the places in which they live, and also transform services to better meet the needs of the people they're here to serve. At the end of the day, Birmingham City Council employees are here as public servants. So consequently, we should be, and citizens have a right to be, involved in the services that they're in receipt of. So the 5 principles for participation: we will be inclusive, accessible and fair. We will be respectful. We will act openly, honestly and with integrity. We will collaborate by working in partnership, hence this meeting, and we'll shift power to communities. As I've said, that's going to be, I can't lie, I'm very open and honest. That's going to be a challenge for some officers in the council more than others. We've got some areas of really good practice and we can talk to you about those in a minute. And we've got some areas that aren't as sort of, if you like, as good as others, let's say. There's room for improvement and we are desperate to improve on that. So within the document, what we've done, and it's really helpful actually, and it's helping us just to challenge people, and it gives citizens an opportunity to challenge us. So we've identified 6 types of public participation. very much line is that none of these are more important than any other. So it's not on a spectrum, a sliding scale or anything like that. What they all do is actually get insight from citizens, partners, strategic partners, whoever, you know, representatives of organisations such as yourselves, in order to inform and feed in citizen insight into our service design, delivery, and, you know, the way we develop services going forward. So these are conversation where we're going to listen to and connect with people. And as a result of that, we promise we will listen to people, we'll listen to experience and ideas so we can understand you better, inform people, you know, tell people what's happening or being planned in ways that are engaging, easy to understand and accessible. And we will then, you know, as a promise in relation to that, we will keep you informed and up to date, and we'll help you understand what we're doing and why. And just to say, we do put our money where our mouth is. We spent an hour with a group of citizens a couple of weeks ago now, actually. And what we'd asked them to do for us online is review the financials section 114 page on our website. Because people were still asking us, and we were still getting feedback from citizens via our contact centre and other forums to say we don't understand what's happening and we want to know what's happening. And there was a real void in the council being specific and communicating with people in a language that people understood. And it was quite insightful for our communications colleagues who'd been sort of, you know, pulled in to draft those pages and draft the FAQs. You know, citizens were actually saying to us, well, actually, we don't even understand what a commissioner is. We don't understand what intervention means, because intervention for one person might mean something different to others. And it was really insightful for the team to actually get that feedback from citizens. And it's now fed into their ongoing engagement and the way they talk to people and how they explain themselves. And just any, for you, it might, you know, you might want to challenge me back and say, well, shouldn't that have already been done? It should have been done, but everything has happened so quickly. We're in quite a challenging place in the local authority. It's not an excuse, and you're absolutely right, it should have been done. But actually, it was really good that we were able to turn around and say, let's have a group of citizens chat to you and just talk you through what they think about the pages and what they think about the wording, the terminology, the tone of voice. So we do it in quite a lot of locations, and we've got some more examples in a few minutes. Consulting, everybody knows that consultation is, it's about, you know, offering ideas or options for people to respond. And as a result of that, we promise we'll tell you about the changes we're planning, listen to and acknowledge your opinions, and let you know how public input has influenced any decisions made. We'll involve citizens. We'll encourage, you know, others to provide information, insights and opinions to join in considering the best way forward. And as a result of which, we will promise that we'll work with, you know, citizens directly to get those ideas, concerns, to help shape the solutions that are developed as outputs. We'll collaborate, we'll work together to jointly explore and design and deliver services. And we will work together to come up with ideas to make decisions and carry them out. And empower, which obviously is quite a, if you like, is quite succinct. And one of the things that we're really desperate to do is enable people to shape the way they live and the services that they rely on. You know, people really should have a say in how services are designed that they're in receipt of. And, you know, an undercurrent and a thread throughout that is very much equitable, inclusive relationship building. We recognise as a team that any engagement with citizens does require people to have relationship skills, does require you to have trust, hence why we're talking to all of you, does require you to help us shape those services. And here's one I made earlier. Here's some we've already undertaken. So just some examples there, really. I don't need to go through them because we can send you this afterwards about how we've used those different examples across the council. So these are really good, some areas of best practice. They're not the only ones we've got, I'm delighted to say. We've got quite a whole host of various different best practice examples where we've engaged members of the public and they've made it a real added value and a real difference to the outputs that have been produced. And this was only just the start of the journey. We've got massive examples and we're still to this day still working with citizens on all sorts of different topics. So just moving on. So this is very much about how we know we'll make a difference. How do we know? How are we going to work this out? So no better time really to get greater trust and confidence and satisfaction with Birmingham City Council. We, a lot of local people are seeing what they, believing what they read and only getting information from the media. We recognise that. We're trying now to do something about that. And we do need to increase trust and confidence and satisfaction with BCC. We want people to have a sense of pride living in Birmingham. The Commonwealth Games was phenomenal for the city, but actually, we want that sense of pride to continue. We want people to feel valued, a feeling of being valued for staff and citizens as we work in partnership. Some of the feedback that we get from our staff is, it's really transformational from when they involve citizens and hear citizen insight, and vice versa. We work with a lot of citizens who actually are really, have learnt new skills and really got added value. And I'm a great believer that if it doesn't add value to both sides, then we shouldn't be doing it. We need to provide services that meet the needs of citizens that they're designed for. And that's across the board. As I said, we've got some really good pockets of best practice, some of which I'm sure you'll already be aware of. We want a greater understanding of the impact on decision making on local communities and people. Like I said, people in the council get in their little tunnel vision world, and they'll quite happily just go at it and think, I've just got to get from A to B. And actually, it really does need that, what's the impact on people who are going to be in receipt of services? And by listening to those people who are the experts by their own lived experience, or, their experience of living or being in receipt of services, will we learn from that? And citizens will feel listened to. We're regularly told they don't feel listened to. And we do go out of our way to try and sort of make a difference. So you don't know what you don't know, is what I said. So I've sort of, that's our vision and approach. We've launched it. We'll give you've got links to it. We'll email you all afterwards. And some of the things, these are just some of the things that people are telling me about that they don't know about. So the council's financial position, you've read about it in the press. You may have had communications from various different parts of the council about our current financial position. We are under a Section 114 notice, so we're not allowed to undertake any expenditure that's not gone through appropriate channels and appropriate agreement. And we're not allowed to make any expenditure if it's on non-statutory services or non-statutory purchases. So the first thing there is the link to the Section 114. What I will say to you is that page is regularly updated. It has more information. If you have, I'm getting an echo from somebody. If you have more questions that you're being asked about the council's position, financial position that isn't on there, there is a link, I understand, for you to either go direct to the commissioners or raise your question on there, and our comms colleagues will make sure that it's then added to the next stage. If you're getting feedback from anybody that, isn't sure about what's happening, don't worry about it, Paul, it's fine. Ensure what's happening, and they're worried about anything, then raise a question. We'll also give you our team email address in a few minutes. So if it helps and we can help you share information with your contacts in your local communities, we're really keen to do so. Cost of living support, people are telling me regularly that they are really struggling with the cost of living in Birmingham. It's affecting everybody at all levels, there is no doubt. There is a web page, again, on the web page, on Birmingham City Council's web page, which is just there, which basically has a lot of information about cost of living support, where people can get access, what people can do. We've recently undertaken a perception survey in Birmingham. Recently it was commissioned pre the Section 114 notice. And we've had quite a large amount of people come back to us and say, we didn't even know there was support available. So they're not getting it. So actually, what have we got that we can share? And that for me it spoke a whole, a massive amount, because I was thinking, well, how much more can we do? And because of I'm not using the limited resources or anything like that, but consequent that we've got, everything tends to be done online, and we know people aren't always available or have access to online support, online facilities. Obviously, all you do. So if there's anything in there that you can share with others, please do. On our behalf, we'd really welcome you to do that. And, just contact council telephone numbers. So our contact centre takes a whole host of calls on all different council services. They are the front door into the council. They're all very well trained. There's a cost of living line for people who are, you know, struggling. There's a benefit advice service, you name it. It's all there, and there is a whole telephone, a whole host of numbers there that you can access. They do have translation facilities. They do have interpreting facilities on those telephone lines. So if somebody isn't whose first language isn't English, please tell them not to worry. They can get through. We can make sure that people are spoken to in their preferred language or in their preferred format. That is already in place. Some people just don't call because they don't think that's available. And to be honest, as a council, I don't think we've told everybody either. So really, really keen to share that information. But that is what we think you might want to know. So what the guys have put in the chat, I don't know if anybody wants to make any comments, is just this, what we need to know from you is this sort of forum, this format, is this useful to you? Is it not useful to you? What would you like to see from this forum? What improvements would you like? There is a Menti link in the chat. So I'm going to give you all a few minutes just to have a look at it, click on it, drop some ideas in. As I said, we really want to make it useful to you. So yeah, so really over to you. Happy to take any questions, any discussion points. Please just pop your hand up and come in. Oh, somebody's got their hand up. Dasar?
It was close, but Taz will do.
Oh, I'm sorry, Taz. Would you like to tell everybody where you're from?
Yes,
please. Yeah.
I'm Housing and Services Manager with Central Birmingham YMCA, based in Aston.
Fantastic.
Mr. Brown, Loxley Brown, Head of Housing and Support, he's on annual leave, so he's asked me to attend.
No problem. Welcome. We're pleased to have you, Taz.
Yeah, I'm happy to attend. I find it quite useful, to be honest with you. Right, we have a large Eritrean community, and I'm finding it difficult to find services who can accommodate in terms of getting them to understand, because they're a very close-knit community, are the Eritreans. And we have a variety of people, but majority of our people, residents, I've got two sites I run in Aston, Harry Wotton House and Willstead House. And it's difficult to communicate with them sometimes, but they're getting the gist of it now. And they are still a close-knit community, but I feel that there's lacking services in terms of information out there. So, I mean, I can't find an Eritrean community a site, for example, to help with translate. To be honest, with most of the services that we use do assist with translation service. That's your universal credit. But a lot of these guys, they do move out. After 2 years, adult social care, as you know, we look to move them into their own accommodation. But our funding stops at a point of where they move into their own accommodation. So in the good old days, where there was money available for everybody, there were floating services. As you're aware, the floating services really hardly exist, and the ones that do, unfortunately, there's not enough out there. But in order to help them with the transition from moving from a scheme to accommodation, independent accommodation, I'd like some services available. For example, you put down the telephone number. I mean, there's some of the stuff that you said is useful, that I'll be looking at that anyway, but I'm trying to improve services for them so we can network with other services, signpost them, not do all the work for them. They need to learn how to be independent, how to work. And to be honest with you, a lot of the majority of them do attend college. They do want to learn English. And you know, they're pretty good at doing stuff like that, but we need more out there to help them. We do have Iranians on site, and the Iranians get on a lot better, to be honest with you. I think because they've been here longer in the UK, etc., etc. But yeah, something to do with the Eritrean services. That I'm more than happy to invite you over in June as well. One of the days where you can come over in the new year. I think it'd be fantastic. I think it'd be fantastic for you to see what our services are about and how you can help us and we can help you, etc., etc.
Yeah, no, very much so. I mean, we will come back to you on that, Taz. So thank you ever such a lot for flagging that. I don't know if anybody else has got anything they want just to, because I'm very conscious of that somebody else might have the answer to that on this call.
Yeah.
So if anybody does, please shout up now. From a city council perspective, we have a refugee and migrant team, and the Eritreans, let me, if I get that right, aren't the first people in Birmingham who have come to us and need to adapt from living in, if you like, supported accommodation and be more independent. And I think Simon will vouch for me. We did a lot of work with the Ukrainian community.
Yeah.
When they came over here as a result of the war. So exactly the same. We had them living with hosts, you know, guests living with hosts. And actually what we hadn't done is asked them what they wanted and what we then managed to put in place. Because obviously there's organisations such as, I can't remember, gosh, Simon, the name's blown out of my head now. The refugee organisation, what's their support details, names? RMC.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
The Refugee Migrant Centre. Gosh.
Yeah, RMC. I was just about to say
Yeah, I was going to say my blonde moment. That was. I'm really sorry. So yeah, the Refugee and Migrant Centre. I do wonder if they'd be able to, because they've done it for other if you like, other communities. So I wonder if there's some learning that we can learn, and actually just by putting you in contact with them, just to say, actually, there are some other people over there that you might want to talk to, because they've done it for other communities. They've got all the signpost links in. They've already got that information there. And you obviously you've now got all of the council websites. You've obviously got all the links for the cost of living as well to support them. But there's also, you know, what isn't on there, and what I should have perhaps, very remiss of me, there's all the warm welcome spaces information as well, which is on the council website. One of the team can drop that in the chat for you in a minute.
I was about to say, do you want me to do a kind of introduction for Taz to the team and just say,
see what support we can help
if you're
with.
happy with that, Taz, I'll pick that up later.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, honestly, more than happy for you to come down and visit the sites.
Yeah.
Have a look at the sites. We can do this in the new year, June. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, no, that'd be amazing. Thank you, Taz.
Come down, have a look, see what we're going through, see what experiencing, see how they are. A lot of them have integrated, but there's a lot of them are coming over and that are with us that don't integrate. They're getting sucked into work. Where issues arise with housing benefit, etc., etc. There's also, in terms of relationships, that they're married to somebody, and this is very interesting, June, because what I'm finding is a lot of the ladies that are coming over and their fellas, their partners are back home. They tend to leave them, and then with the men that come over, the women get pregnant and then they start separating. Because they're not meeting needs or demands or expectations, and it's happening quite a lot. And I don't find any services out there that can accommodate them or help them in terms of understanding the situation and how things work. Because there's a massive expectancy. Because I think it was when 20 years ago with Iran, Iraq, etc., the refugees were coming over. We demand a house. We demand. Times have changed. I mean, you're not available. The offer of 3 accommodation is not available anymore. They're always looking at, we want to cancel accommodation because we want to buy that. It's not happening anymore. It's about getting a message across, setting up a forum for them somewhere they can access information, and so can we, that'll help each other. Do you see what I mean, June?
Yes, I'm done. No, absolutely.
There's
exactly a similar situation that we did with the Ukrainian community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's only one of the communities that we were involved in. The team that have done massive amounts of others and probably can help you, Taz, with some of those links straight away. But we'd love to come and see it as well. Absolutely. Robbie, you've had your hand up.
Please,
you also had Paul as well, and I'm sure if he's hand timed out, but definitely Robbie had his hand up as well, June.
Yeah, so I might have some potential solutions for you, Taz. I mean, not perfect, but I used to police Round Nechells, so I know Father Solomon from St. Vincent's Roman Catholic Church. He's Eritrean himself, and they have Eritrean and East African service on a Sunday afternoon. So it might go a long way into tapping into that community to find out people who might be able to potentially help. The other place as well to look at is, I forgot the name of the mosque is, but on Reevesby Walk in Nechells, there's some good sort of community-minded people from Somalia and Eritrea and East Africa within the mosque there. So it's the mosque on Reevesby Walk, but check out Father Solomon. He's a really nice bloke, and I'm sure he'll be able to help you out into some capacity.
That's
Fantastic.
amazing. Thank you, Robbie. You never said where you were from and who you represent or anything like that.
I'm Birmingham City Council. I'm for the Neighbourhood Development Support Unit. I'm the
Oh,
Neighbourhood Action
lovely.
for
Fabulous.
Soho, Jewellery Quarter, and Ladywood wards.
So,
Brilliant.
Taz, if it's okay with you, what we'll probably do is introduce you to Robbie, so you two get
Yeah.
each other's
Yeah.
email names, if that's okay, so you can share that information. But that's
Yeah.
really fantastic. Thank you, Robbie. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's all about is sharing the information.
Yeah,
I've got no
brilliant,
hands up.
fantastic.
Should we look
Well,
at what people have said about how we can improve this forum?
It did have Paul.
I know,
his
but
hand
Paul,
went,
Paul
went
hasn't,
back.
his hand hasn't. Okay.
Okay.
I took my hand down because you went off in a different direction.
Oh,
No, go on,
a
Paul.
specific
Please come
question.
in.
I think so. I missed the first part because I was like coming from something else. So apologies if I've missed something essential. Something that's come to mind while you're talking about all of this is where is the involvement from the neighbourhood forums? So, for example, we've got Boldmere Neighbourhood Forum where we are. So that tells you where I'm from now as well. And that's very active. So I'm part of Boldmere Neighbourhood Forum. We've also got a CIC called Boldmere Future CIC. That it's again very active. We had our Christmas lights switch on and have massive festival. 5,000 people.
Amazing.
Turning up on Sunday. So that's sort of community involvement we've got. So it'd be interesting to know what plans are to involve existing communication methods like neighbourhood forums, also to grow those neighbourhood forums, because I know many of them, may have started off by a few retired people a few years ago. Those retired people now, too old to continue those sort of things, and it needs new blood. But also, how you're going to bring new neighbourhood forums, because they can be very successful when used. They have an official capacity, and you can use that as a communication method as well, which is what you're obviously looking to achieve. And I think the other thing is as well is often with what we feel we think with Birmingham City Council is it looks to fulfil needs that it believes it's supposed to fulfil, rather than what the actual needs are. So like when a lot of grants are given out, for example, it would be particularly welcome from these types of groups, like for example LGBTQ groups and other minority groups, and yet actually that's not necessarily where the need is. But it sort of like seems like, oh well, I suppose we ought to do that because that's a good thing to do. But what about the rest of the population of Birmingham, and how how are they being served, and so on? Obviously, the deprivation is a clear cut one, but other aspects aren't necessarily like as much of a need. And then I haven't just somebody's just come up and says that I've asked a question. Is there anyone that has a list of email contacts that enabled Birmingham? Oh no, somebody else has asked that question and tagged me. I have no idea, but I think there's a lady called Leslie Bannister who deals with neighbourhood forums. Does that ring any bells to anyone from the council?
For me.
So it'll be Leslie Lesley .Bannister with a double N. I know she's the contact for us, certainly.
Brilliant.
So they get bits of funding, but I just wanted to share something that is a bit how the city council just seems to be completely disjointed to some of us in some ways.
Yeah. Yesterday,
back in July, we booked litter picking service. We were going to paid over £720 for it from Birmingham City Council back in July, which should have included refuse truck, 12 1,100 litre bins and 3 litter pickers. 3 weeks before the event, we're still not getting communication back. I'm chasing. The main person that's in it, which only seems to be one person that deals with stuff at Commercial Waste, is on holiday. Chasing, get back to it, and it's like, oh, Paul, we're really struggling. We're going to be able to get you the bins, but we're really struggling to get you the litter pickers because we can't get overtime approved with the current financial situation. And I'm like, well, that's stupid, because if you don't get that overtime approved, we're not going to pay you for the service. and therefore you're going to be missing out on finance coming in. In the end, we got a much less than satisfactory service, and I'm definitely not going to be paying the full invoice because they left the street in a mess. And it's things like that. You think, what is going on? You know, you've got these people coming in trying to solve problems, yet it's actually creating more problems for us. We've got a whole load of stuff left over from Commonwealth Games that we're still waiting to be disposed of, and we can't for the life of us get anybody from refuse, even through the work of our councillor, to come and collect it. And it's like, how can we get this sort of like common sense stuff done when it's so basic?
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure who you've been dealing with in the commercial service waste service, but if it was pre-agreed pre the section 114 notice, it should have gone ahead or been rearranged with you, because if it's been pre-agreed service or spend, then if it was before the notice was issued at the beginning of September, then it should have been arranged. That's why I'm sorry that it sounds like you've had a very poor receipt of service and very disjointed. Just going back to your very initial point where you asked about neighbourhood forums and their involvement, we've invited as many as we had contacts for. But what my challenge back would be, this forum isn't our forum, it's our forum. So actually, we don't want this to be Birmingham City Council led. What we'd really like is for other people to share the invitation on with others. So actually to make it much more inclusive and just to help us in that space, really. But we will also go back to Leslie. So thank you for that name. We will try and involve them. But we invited a whole, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Adib, I think there was something like 105 or something ridiculous community contacts that we had of people in local communities who have networks and links out there that we've invited, including all the faith organisations. So we have tried to do it, but also I understand completely that not everybody would have been free at this time, hence why we said we'd record it and try and share it on and just try and make it as open as we can. What I would also say to you about, I mean, if you want to drop us an email, please do, about the litter picking support, you know, the service that you've received, obviously, and the challenge back. We can't fix it, as I said earlier, we can't necessarily have the right we haven't got the answers to everything, but what we will do is feed it back into the right service area and make sure that they're very much aware that what is happening on the ground, and, you know, as you said, how dysfunctional and disjointed it makes the city council appear to be.
Jill Rowe, who's head of commercial waste, is very, very aware of it. And I think it's more a lack of organisation from that leadership and the whole team.
From that team rather than anybody else.
You know,
I am sorry to hear that. Yeah. I'm really sorry to hear that.
But it's more that these sorts of things should be bread and butter. You know, it's sort of like, yes, we had booked it before, it didn't get booked before, and then they had this issue with overtime. But then why should there be an issue with overtime when it's a commercial service? You know, that sort of thing shouldn't be coming into question. It should be, no, we're trying to solve the financial problems with Birmingham, not create more by stopping the city council from earning money.
Okay. So thank you, Paul. We will take that back. We will feed it back in, as I've said. If there's anything that you want us to make sure that we can cover off in future meetings, if we want to have a future meeting, we can do. Let's just have a quick look at what people have said about how we can work together, because I think it's really important that we think about you know, something that's going to meet everybody involved. The mosques, I've said, we've already invited all of the mosque representatives. We'd love them to come. Anybody help us encourage that more? Please do. Please do. We've got some engagement case studies on what kind of participation and communication has worked before. So I'm going to task the team with looking at that and making sure that we get that out. We can share that with you. So I'm delighted that somebody said, you know, getting citizens involved is a great idea, and there are lots of opportunities across the city to access citizens. We need to be called something other than community connectors. What would you like to be called? Whoever made that comment, give us a clue. We're quite happy to be called whatever you want to be. Carmel, go on. You got your hand up, Carmel. You're on mute.
Waited so long to say, Carmel, you're still on mute.
Oh, I'm just providing you with the opportunity, Simon. That's an old joke now.
Where are you from, Carmel?
Oh, sorry. I'm from the Whole Green Neighbourhood Network scheme. So I think there's a number of people across the city who are already called community connectors, not least the people who sit within the early help service. And I just think that it could become quite confusing for us to be called. That's exactly what we're trying to do, connect into communities, but we need to come up with something that's different.
Oh, happy to have any suggestions. Was there somebody else who got their hand up, Simon? Thank you, Carmel.
You're welcome.
It was Summer.
Hi, hi everybody. Yes, exactly what Carmel was just saying. I am her sort of equivalent in the Hall Green Families Early Help team, and as you can see from my background, hopefully lanyard, etc. I am actually called a community connector, so I think it would be a little bit confusing. We already have community engagement workers at the Children's Centre, so community, whilst it's vague and broad in all the best ways, I think something different. I don't have the answer for it, but I just wanted to chip into exactly what Carmel was saying. It's already a bit beating the horse.
Yeah, so I think I had a conversation with somebody who commissions the Early Help Community Connector scheme yesterday, and when I had a conversation with them, one of the things that I would say to you is, the community connect, we can be whatever you want us to be, and I'm not precious about a name. I'm really not. However, I get that your community connectors in a certain area in the city, whereas actually we were using connectors in a citywide, much looser term. I'm more than happy to take on board any suggestions or whatever you want to, if you want to be called citywide connectors or citywide community connectors. We could have CWCC. I don't mind. It's just all we wanted to do was just come up with a term which is a bit more inclusive for all sorts of different people, not just one segment. So it is much wider than just obviously your early help service, etc. Do we want to move on to the next question? Is there anything else that we would need to flag on this slide? Anybody else? Anybody want to do? I like that, smaller interest groups to facilitate cross-fertilization of ideas that can be presented to the wider group. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's vital to be open and honest if we want to meet the rest of the Birmingham community. Yes, please. So how frequently would you like to meet? I don't know if this is this going to be a dot, guys? Oh, it's that lovely lull when you use Mentimeter about what kicks. There you go. There we go. Oh, so 2 people have voted and I've got one saying monthly and one saying bi-monthly. So at the minute we're a 50-50 split. What I would also say to you is one of the things, I've got a monthly in the chat. Thank you, Gazelle. Yeah. What I would also say to you is it is a group that we might call together. So one of the things the team is, it's looking like it will be our responsibility, is very much about how we share information about the council's financial position where more information is known with local communities. And at that time, I hope you would all agree, it's probably important enough for us to arrange a meeting just for us all to get into a room so we can give you the information and you can then share that with your networks. Yeah. Because we'd very much like to do that. So bi-monthly is coming out as a favourite. Fine by me. Bi-monthly it's looking like. Should we move on to the next slide? People can still populate that one and it will still continue running. I think so I've got a challenge on monthly to bi-monthly, guys, in the chat. Maria, thank you. I think monthly means you have more opportunities to attend as everyone can't attend every single one. And is there a best day or time you'd like to meet? That's the other question I never even asked. So yeah, I don't mind if there's a best day or time. Pop it in the chat if there is. So let's move it on. I'm still getting a bi-monthly, so that's good. I think we'd go for bi-monthly unless we have something really important that anybody wants to share. And if you guys want us to set one up, we're more than happy to call a meeting.
Yeah.
Next one, Adib, we're moving on. What would you like to hear about? What topics or information would you or your local people or your local networks, what are they telling you that they're struggling with to get information on that we can share? Anything that you're getting, any insight that you're getting that we need to share? Giselle, do you want to come in? Is it Giselle?
Giselle, yeah.
Ah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I just put my camera off for a moment, but I'll carry on talking, obviously. It's quite a hard one because, to be honest with you, as a lead worker, I'm from Cranston, but Vulnerable Adult Services, by the way. Sorry,
Brilliant.
I should
Thank
have,
you.
should have specified that at the beginning.
No, you're fine.
So,
Don't
yeah.
be daft.
So I'm on the I'm on the adults, vulnerable adults, single adults team, and we've got various different departments dealing with specific areas. Now, our team, it's predominantly the housing, but a lot of things do tie into that, and we do support with other things. But I mean, I think the housing is a major issue. I think everyone can agree with that at the moment, and it's extremely hard for us to kind of navigate a lot of the time. A lot of our clients get very frustrated because they may have been on the housing register for a long time. So I think I would say, I mean, it's not the only issue or need that we support, by the way. We support with various things like ensuring that they're on the correct benefits. We signpost and do a lot of referrals for various different support groups. And we are trying as a service to up the multi-agency partnership as much as possible. If I'm honest, I think that is a real big key anyway. I think the more you liaise with other support groups and agencies, the more it just makes things a lot easier, because you have people to go to, you know exactly who's who, what is what people can support with anyway. But for me, because of the housing situation being so poor, I do feel that there needs to be more support there with regards to the housing, even if it's just, I don't know, just sort of like your general, sort of advice that people can go to. Because at the moment, I mean, I think it is getting better, and it has got better last, I'd say, couple of years or so, since the cost of living and all of that coming off the back of COVID. But I do feel that there needs to be, if there is more advice, more support in that arena. But I know it is a difficult one, obviously. It is tough because a lot of it depends upon the budgets of the councils, and, so there's only so much, I suppose, that can be done. But I would just say things like this are really essential. Now, our organisation, I don't know if other organisations who are partaking today have had similar things or going to have similar things coming up, but we had a conference called Innovation Fund Project, and it basically invited everybody across the service from all the different regions of the UK, because we are a nationwide service, we're not just Birmingham based. And we all came together and invited to a conference where we all pulled our ideas as to how to make the service better for our service users and staff, actually. So it was a bit of both, really. I think with the suggestion of these monthly meetings amongst all different services, I think something like that would be really, really good. I mean, I presume it's going to be along those, I mean, it is pretty much along those lines what we're talking about today, but having an actual conference where we all kind of pull these ideas, and I think it's more about, if I'm honest, how each I suppose idea or suggestion that is made through individual services, how they can connect to other services. And I think that is the biggest thing. I think can sometimes be a bit of a disconnect. So there might be lots of good ideas floating around between different organisations and services out there, support groups. But it's more, I've found that sometimes there's a bit of that disconnect. How do you connect that to what you're trying to do? Or you can see things that could be really useful for service users and clients, but then it's kind of like sometimes there is a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
So it's about, for me, it's about making it smoother amongst all the different services, because at the end of the day, we're all there to help people. That's our main aim, you know. So
and we're
it's
there
just
to
trying
help
to
the
make it a
same
bit
people.
smoother.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
we're there to help the same people as well. That's always me. I'm going to do, I don't know if you know about it, but what I will do is get the team in the chat, and perhaps we can all share any others that we've got. Can one of the team pop in the chat the Connect to Support website link, please? I think Simon's on it on that case.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. What Connect to Support is, it's a website that you may be already aware of it, Giselle, that it's designed to provide information about what support is out there for citizens, and what information and advice is out there for citizens. And it's very much a free website, so anybody can actually register to go on this website, and then but actually you can do a search on this website for any citizens that you're supporting as well. So it's actually quite a really, really good, useful tool. It's probably one of Birmingham's most undersold products, but there you go. And
sorry, can I just interject slightly as well?
Of course you can.
Sorry, it's just going on something that was raised before by somebody. I mean, you touched upon it, and somebody was you were having a chat about it. I mean, about the whole service users, clients having access to internet.
Yeah.
Now, that is something that for me, I find is quite prevalent. If I'm honest with you, I'm working with vulnerable people who haven't got, you know, that half of the people I support don't even live in suitable housing, let alone have an internet connection.
Yeah.
You know, they're struggling even to feed themselves, let alone have an internet connection. So for me as well, I think it's, even though I know we're living in a technological age and everything is digital, everything's it's all going that way, but we need to consider the people that we're supporting here. And absolutely. I think it's actually, we do actually have had this in our service anyway, and it's being slightly developed, whereas we're trying to create, which I know there's many of them, but more of like a drop-in hub, like a drop-in serve, sort of venue for people. But I know there's plenty of them out there. But I think I don't know it. I think it's more about going back to almost your basics. So rather than doing everything online, I think it's more about, it's more face-to-face contact that I think really counts here. And it's finding ways of doing that, really, honestly. Like, just, there's so many people, so many different skills, within the support industries and organizations. And I think also I think it's about utilizing as well the skills that different people have within each sector / organization, charity, etc., because I think sometimes people's skills aren't being utilized enough. But it's about literally is about thinking out of the box, I think, sometimes. And being literally innovative, and trying to think, but it's more sort of that hands-on face-to-face approach. I actually think it actually makes a big difference personally. And I think it's easy to put a link on a website for people. Oh, you just go on that website, but it's not that simple, and actually when you think long-term, if things can be done more on a face-to-face value, hands-on value, or on that kind of premise, in a way it actually makes our jobs easier as well. Because what I tend to find is, I mean, I know I'm there to support, but a lot of the time I'm having to go on on the internet, looking at all these links, trying to put all, and it's very time consuming. And I'm convinced there's going to be simpler ways of doing stuff, I think, if it's more that interactive face-to-face type of approach. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I would love it to be more face-to-face and interactive, Giselle. And pre-COVID, the team we did, we were always out and about in local communities and doing face-to-face meetings. Sadly, we're a little bit more restricted now, but that doesn't stop us thinking outside the box and working with partners to enable us to use other people's facilities and go out and about and, run these sessions face-to-face. And we've found some partners that have actually offered us the rooms for free, which would be amazing in local communities. So it's very much something that we're very much thinking of. But yeah, absolutely. You also mentioned, though, Giselle, earlier on in your conversation, is something about the signposting, really, and the partnership working, particularly in relation to housing. specifically, is that how to navigate the housing sort of register, because that's what you've got a lot of, you know, demand for out there in local communities. It's definitely something that I picked up when we were working with it's definitely something I picked up when I was out there and about working with meeting local people and local, you know, representatives, that people do struggle with the housing process. And if that's the case, then one of the things we can do is go back to our housing colleagues and say, can somebody come and talk us through, you know, the right way to navigate the housing process and, you know, how to get through it. More than happy.
Exactly. And actually, sorry to jump in again. Something as well I've noticed is, for example, a lot of my service users are having to resort to go to living in HMOs.
Yeah.
Now, this is something I've noticed. Of course, you've got your well-run HMOs, but there is a lot of them out there which are not of a standard that they should be.
No.
Now, of course, I understand that us as professionals, it is part of our job that if we get wind of things not being quite right, of course, there is a procedure in place. You have to report it to the local authority, you know, which is fine. But that's something I have noticed. But also, I think as well, I was talking to a chap from a housing associate or HMO, he was a housing officer there, and I was liaising with him, and I was actually quite pleased with what he told me with regards to, he said he tries to match the right tenants with the right house with the other tenants within the property. Now, I think it's really simple things like that which can make a huge difference, because I have service users clients who have literally gone from one HMO to another like within the space of a couple of months, and I can't keep up, you know. And then when I ask them, well, why did you move again? You know, and they'll, if it's not the standard of the property, which is very poor, it will be because they've had run-ins with the other tenants within that house. Now, I think if things were, I think if a bit more time and effort went into who do you allocate into what house, and that little extra time was taken, I think it could actually save a lot of problems. That's something else. This is the thing. It's really about getting a bit more, you know, really considering people as people, you know.
Yep.
I don't think you can stick somebody in a house where it's well known for drug use, and if they're not a drug user, think that that's going to be okay with them.
No.
You know, I mean, it's little things like that which I do think, but that's where the individual organisations have to actually just put in that little bit of extra effort.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. So if I can
else.
get somebody to come from housing, talk us through the process and hear the concerns, etc., I will do. Bear with me. I'm just conscious of hands. So Carla, sorry. Now, Carmel,
Right.
you had your hand up for a while. Do you want to come in before Carla, or is yours just, are you okay?
I put a message in the chat. It was
Fine.
just to make Giselle aware of the Digital Neighbourhood Network scheme,
Yes.
which is citywide across Birmingham, supporting people to engage, it's basically to address digital inclusion and the real disparity across the city that became very evident during COVID. I'm just going to find a link that I can put in. Okay,
I think
thanks,
it's already
June.
in. I think it's already in. I think Jude.
Well done.
Juanita's already done it for us, so thank
Juanita,
you.
you're ahead of me. Well done. Thank you. Thank you.
Carla, you were waiting to come in very patiently.
Hello. So yeah, I'm with the unpaid family carers team at Middle and Mencap. So we do a lot of work with unpaid family carers. I was going to hit on the topic of the digital poverty.
Yeah.
Those digital inclusion hubs are all around the city. They do give you access to free SIMs with data calls and text, and also refurbished devices, as has been said. We are noticing that our parent carers, especially young parent carers as well, with children with additional need, are lacking on free send resources. I've seen the comment that was put up on there. anything like that would be so much appreciated by our parent carers. They take on a lot of the responsibility themselves, and there aren't many services out there to support them. So really, we do have parent carer groups north, east, south and west. So it's a great way to get information out to them by being part of this forum. So hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to include them along the way and also put across to them what's being said and get their input on it and get their ideas on how they would like to see services and things. So yeah, hopefully we can do some good work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So just before I move on, do you know about Forward Carers, who are there to support Birmingham carers in the city?
Yes, we are a partner of.
You're a partner of Forward. Thank goodness for that, because if you'd have said no, then I was like, oh no. And you mentioned about free send resources. We've got somebody on the call, Laki Sahota, who works in our send team in Birmingham. So if it's okay with you, what we're going to do is connect you both together outside of this meeting. Fantastic. So you can share resources, and he can identify if there's anything he can help you with. Would that be okay?
That'd be amazing. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Who have we got going on now? Is it Taz?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, just a couple of things from what Giselle was saying earlier. I think I've been in sport a long time regarding housing, etc., etc., and a lot of the service users, what I find, are very, very, very resourceful. Even when it comes to seasons and where they choose to live and where they choose, because they're not going to, in the summer, they're not going to be staying in houses, paying rent, etc., etc., when there are services out there that can provide for them. Regarding Wi-Fi availability, I think there's quite a few hubs where they can access that information and get the resources. I think there's plenty of resources out there. Regarding moving from HMOs to HMOs and different housings, there must be a lot of mitigating circumstances in terms of why they're constantly moving, because my experience with them is that they know the service and systems a lot better than most of us on how to access service, how to access funds, and why they're moving, etc., etc. The one important thing I'd like to mention is that there's a lot of pressure on people who work in our fields. There's a hell of a lot of pressure, especially since the COVID. I've worked with substance misuse before, and sometimes you're talking about having a caseload of 40, 50, 60 clients, which is impossible to work with. The other thing when it comes to housing as well is that before, clients had choices of 3 options regarding housing, and now it's only gone to 2. And I also believe that the banding has changed with Birmingham City Council. So there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. But I do believe that it is, and there are valuable services out there that do meet needs, but there's a lot of pressure on staff that work in these services.
Yep.
Okay, that's my point.
Taz, completely agree. What I would, we're getting a lot of people saying, can they be connected with Send? So I know Laki's on the call, so Laki, you're going to have a list, is all I can say, just so you know. I've clocked all the chat. Taz, in relation to housing, you're absolutely right, and I think it'd be really good for them to hear the views. So I'm very, very keen to see if I can get somebody from housing to come along and just talk through the process and hear from you about what your experiences are, because those experiences are invaluable, if that's okay. We've got some information on there about what we want to cover in the future items, so we'll pick that up afterwards. I'm very conscious of time, and I'd rather you chat and find out stuff from each other. So I'm quite happy with that, because I think that's working really well, unless you will disagree. Giselle, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Taz, for that, because I do appreciate it isn't easy, and I wasn't sort of trying to make out that it's all easy peasy. Of course, I understand it's not, and I appreciate the pressures. I think it's more about just trying to, as I said, be a bit more wary of, like, how people, at the end of the day have to share a house. So just, being a bit more sensitive to the people that are already in there. And I think it's just more about that, really, being a bit more personable with the people that are going into these houses. But I'm not taken away from the fact that it is a hard role. So that was that. But also there was something else I wanted to mention. I have also struggled with service users who are in housing, etc., even whether it's adequate or not. Obviously the food parcel situation has skyrocketed, especially in our service, and I'm constantly getting asked to get food parcels. One thing I have struggled with in certain respects, I've got vulnerable people who aren't that mobile, but who are not eligible for like food parcel deliveries. That's something I found is really lacking, and I would really appreciate if anyone has any leads on that, because I've really struggled with regards to that one, when I know they haven't got enough money to feed themselves and they're really reliant on me to try and sort that out. But then when I say to them, well, you have to go to this place to go, even if it's just 5 minutes down the road from them, if their mobility isn't, you know, well, good enough, they literally can't get there. And then I'll say, is there any chance you can get a taxi there? And if their finances are very low, they'll just say no anyway. And it puts me in quite an awkward situation, because then I'll be asked, well, can't you just drop one off? But it's not part of what I do, and I can't be going around doing that for people. I know there are certain church organisations that do food parcel drop-offs, but what I tend to find is that they'll only cover certain postcodes of Birmingham. So, you know, unless you live within that postcode and you've got a really good reason, they won't deliver to you. And I'm really struggled with that a lot. And I just wondered if anyone had any, any input on that one. Thank you.
So during COVID, I know BVFC went into that space, the Birmingham Voluntary Sector Council, and the Active Wellbeing Society. So I do wonder if they're still aware of any support groups or networks that might be able to help you, Giselle. Would you be happy?
I've already looked into them, if I'm honest.
Have you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've inquired, and some that were doing deliveries that aren't doing them anymore. They only cater for people like the elderly, basically. You know, the very, very vulnerable elderly community. But apart from that, they won't. And I've actually got a lady who I support. She is housebound. She's got multiple, health issues.
Yeah.
And I did explain that to all the different places I tried, and they said, really sorry, we just don't do it anymore. We did during COVID, but not anymore. And it's just, that's the only answer I've ever got, really.
And you're looking at charities now, aren't you, and things like that. I mean, if anybody's got, I'm very conscious of time, so if anybody's got any links for Giselle, please drop them in the chat. What we'll also do is we'll do some digging, because we've got links into the warm welcome spaces as well, through within my own directorate in the council. So what I will do is see if there's anything out there as well that we could help with. Here we go. But Gemma has really helpfully put you a couple of links in the chat. So thank you, Gemma.
Okay, thanks. I'll have a look at those later. Thank you.
No worries.
Sorry, you have to click individually onto the map for those and do a postcode search to see if they deliver, but it's a start.
Yeah, thank you. Really helpful. Didn't even know it existed. So thanks, Gemma. Taz.
Yeah, try just with the food delivery, try Salvation Army, because I'm sure they used to do something. They might be able to help.
God, I love it that you can all share information and help each other. It's amazing.
I may have already tried them already, because I think a lot of them used to, but they've kind of ceased doing the deliveries now. I think that's the problem. Yeah, but I will try. Thank you.
Giselle, what I will also do is check with our contact centre colleagues in the council, because they sometimes have an up-to-date list of what charities are maybe offering food to various different areas of the city. So I will check for you. I will ask them as well and see what I can get. I can't make any promises, but I'll see what they've got. There may be ones you've already tried, obviously, but I will try. Robbie, sorry, you've really patiently had your hand up.
No, that's fine. I'm just following on from what Taz said about HMOs and supported living. I think one of the biggest issues is how residents circulate around. So for a few months they'll be in Erdington, and then a few months later they'll be in Selly Oak, and they go round and round the city. And the problem with that is that leads to where they don't feel connected to anywhere, where they're getting bits of patchy help from, say, the south of the city, then they go to north and they have to start all over again. And I think that's actually creating a problem in itself in terms of the rotation and the circulation of people moving in and out of areas. Also, I think the question has to be asked as well, why is this the case? Is it a case of where there might be moved on because of there's a public space protection order, if they've been causing problems? Have the police been involved? Are there, as discussed, falling outs between people within that accommodation? So I do think there's probably a broader piece of work that needs to be looked at a little bit to see how do we identify these people and make sure that they're getting the right services, particularly if they are transitory and they are moving around the city.
Absolutely, thank you. Thanks, Robbie. A really, really, really good point. And I do have somebody else, but I think it's Carmel.
Yeah, it was just to say, Giselle, that the food delivery is a real gap that we're identifying in Hall Green, and I imagine is replicated across the city in terms of being able to get food out to vulnerable people. And you know, I don't want to be a damp squid, but genuinely, I don't think there's anywhere at present that will actually deliver. And I think a lot of workers, both in organisations like yourselves and the city, there's an expectation that you go and pick it up and deliver it. So it's definitely a gap that we are seeing and that we are flagging.
Thank you, Carmel. Not a damp squid, but perhaps realistic, sadly. Just so we know, there's lots of people now having to drop off, so I'm really, really grateful for lots of you attending. If we just move on, Adib, I think we might need to do, so who's missing? So just before you all go, you don't have to respond on this, you can just tell us afterwards. Who do you think we need to invite? We've mentioned mosques earlier. Is there any, please help us share the invitation to this meeting. We'd really like to have more and more people here, really would. So if we work on again, move on again. Adib? Is there anything you want to tell us? You've told us lots during this meeting. It's been really, 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 really insightful, very helpful. Really, very helpful. Giselle, I'll come to you in 1 minute. I'm just going to go to the next one because I think it's got all the links and contacts for you all, just so you know. There you go. So we've got the public participation vision and approach. Don't know where the link is for that. Adib,
I'm going to pop them all in the chat now, June. So
citizens sign up. So if anybody you've got citizens that you think want to sign us up and get involved in working with us going forward that aren't already involved, please do get them to contact us and just drop a message in the chat. Sadly, it is online at the moment, and Community Connect to sign up. So that's just for you to share with any other contacts, any other people you might want to encourage to join us. We would love to have the more the merrier, and there's our team email address. And Giselle, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just very quickly, because I'm aware of the time as well. What it was, obviously, who to get involved. I don't know if this has already come up, I might have missed it, but you know, with the actual service users themselves, yes. Obviously there are hubs and drop-in centres, and I was just thinking, well, do you know what if, you know, it could be arranged where those who are capable of getting to a hub, if transport's not provided, get them to actually join in these these exact meetings, and then, you know, get their sort of feedback at the end, you know, maybe give them a little time window at the end so they could like sort of takes down some notes, whether mental notes or actually on, you know, pen and paper, and then they can actually have a little, you know, I don't know how you would orchestrate it, but you could just ask, okay, are there specific things we've discussed today that you want to, you know, have your say on, because at the end of the day it's for you guys, you know. And I think that would be actually, because it's always it's always amongst the organisations, isn't it, that's providing the support. I know that I'm sure we all have our own form of like exit survey, you know, where you kind of ask them for like feedback at the end of the support. But I think that's slightly different. I think actually it's all about getting people actually involved, isn't it? Making people feel included in what's going on. And I think doing something like this, which is more interactive, so obviously you would provide as a support people the equipment. All they have to do is be with you and sit in on these meetings. I think, to be honest, that would be a really useful way forward, personally, because I think you'd probably get a slightly different response than if you just sat there and got them to fill out a form at the end of the service with you, their time. So, that was all.
Giselle, that's an amazing idea. The hubs that you're referring to, I'm not sure I know where they are. could I task Simon to contact Giselle afterwards and just clarify what and come up with some sort of options or proposals? Somebody said earlier, can we have a little small working group to work out how we could do it? We'd love to come out. We'd love to come out and talk to you. We'd love to come out and meet with you. It would be amazing. We'd love to come out and meet with citizens, listen to Citizens Direct. Yes, please, is the answer, basically. And, you know, if you're there, great. If you're not there, that's also fine too. But, you know, we'll quite happily do whatever we need to do just to come out and share information and just tell people where it is. I think, I mean, my takeaway from today is I hope you found it useful. I certainly have found it useful meeting you all. So I'm really, really grateful that you all made the time to come. There's very much, we've got to do some connections to the refugee and migrant team. For TAS, we've got to do something around housing, definitely. We've got to see what food support we can do some digging around and see what links we've got that we could think about doing some more work around. Very keen to share the invitation and the network, and it is dead informal, so please do share on. We also need to think about send, and I know Lackey has very kindly sort of picked that up indirectly in the chat, so that's really, really good for him to do that. And also just looking at, if you like, what support's there that we can share. Now, if you've got any other networks, I mentioned Connect to Support earlier. I suppose my question back would be, what other, I know there's sort of the waiting room, for example. There'll be lots of different networks and support sites out there that you might not be aware of. So, you know, happy for you to, you know, pull people in or send us the contacts and we will then share information. In fact, perhaps that's what I should do. I don't know if the team think about it. We'll share the slides. If anybody's got any links or any contacts or anything they want to share with the rest of the people in the group, if they email us with them, and our email's gone in the chat, I've seen it, we'll pull all that together and make sure you'll get it. As for the next meeting, I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts about whether they just want a quick catch up before Christmas or after Christmas. I'm hoping that before Christmas we might have some information for you on a little bit more information on the council's financial position going forward, that will be published on the website. I'm not telling you anything that's not going to be published. Actually, I'm very conscious of the fact, like I said earlier, people don't always know it's there and don't see it or whatever. So we'd lovely, really welcome to share it with you. So yeah, if that's okay with you, we'll try and drop another meeting in just before mid-December, let's say, if that's okay. I'm not getting any no's, so that's all good. So really, really grateful of your time today. Oh, I've got a thumb up, so that's good. A couple of thumbs up, I'll live with that. Attend if you can. If you can't come, we appreciate it. We will try and send you all the information afterwards and any updates or any feedback notes. Alicia from the team has very kindly offered to pull all that together for us, bless her. Really good to have some link sharing and just sharing information, because I'm not sure of any of the forums that are out there that do that. And if somebody wants to come up with a name other than Connectors, please let me know, because that's one challenge too far for me. But we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. So thank you all so very much for the your time today. I do appreciate we've kept you quite a long time.
Brilliant.
Thanks
you,
all.
guys.
Take care.
Take
Thank
care.
you
Bye-bye.
so much for your time.
Bye. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye, everyone. Have a good day.
And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye.
Oh, bye.